Hello, good morning. Sorry for the delay. I pushed the wrong button. I just spent 2 minutes talking to myself. Now I will talk to you. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. It is Monday, the 14th of November. Wow. November. As you can tell by the turtleneck and the sweater, it's cold here too. Let's see. Tammy, hi. Mie, hi. Marcella, hello. Tefo, welcome. Now go. 0 Celsius in Toronto. Oh my God. Today it's 2 in New York. Not as cold, but my goodness. Last Thursday, I think it was. Hold on. It was 20. Hello, Fab. 10 p.m. 15 in Japan. Ay, ay, ay. Why are you in the basement? Are you doing laundry in the basement? Or are you stacking the bottles of wine? Who stacks bottles of wine in the basement anyway? All right, I think we're okay. I think we're good. 10 in Amsterdam. Winter is here. Oh, you're riding the bike. So you're riding the stationary bike while studying English. Awesome. Exercise, you are, what's that word? Multitasking. She's multitasking. That's it. She's multitasking, doing 2 things at the same time. Awesome. So did you have a good weekend? Did you study English this weekend? I have to be very honest. This weekend, life got in the way of studying. I was able to do some reading, but just I couldn't do it. I don't have my own time on the weekend. That's the problem. So that's my plan for today. American boy life. In New York, the temperature is 5. Do you believe that? I don't believe that. Considering the weather we had last week, wasn't bad. Oh, it's 40 now. So it's 4. Where I live, it's 4. I guess it may be in Manhattan. It's hot, it's warmer. Oh my goodness. Too cold. And that's why today I've decided that we're going to take a look. Hold on. In a moment, we're going to take a look at some cold weather vocabulary. But before we do that, what's that black line? Hold on. Why? What is that black line? Oh, there we go. Just fixing the technology here, kids. All right. Now, Tefo, I'm not sure what you mean there. I hate it when it abruptly starts raining right when I didn't bring an umbrella. Oh my goodness. Chari, how did you ace the Japanese language? How did I ace the Japanese language? I haven't aced the Japanese language. I'm still working on it. But it takes even to learn English, if that's your second language. It takes determination and it takes consistency. You have to consistently do it all the time. That's it. You know, I've told you guys this before. Every day, read something, listen to something, speak something, and write something. Right? Because language has input and output. Input, listening and reading. Output, speaking and writing. And you have to do those 4 things a little bit every day. That's going to help you. Every day, consistency. All the time. Hey, from the far east of Russia, welcome. Sorry, but I can't read your name there. I don't know those characters. Hello, Monica. Hello, Jessica. Wow, all the usual suspects are here. What does kick ass? Tefo, that means to fight somebody. Um, that's what that means. Many kids in Canada are sick these days. Yeah, the flu is going crazy here in the U.S. I got my flu shot on Friday. Yep, and I'm going to get my 4th COVID shot. I forget what it's called, but there's a new booster to fight the new strain of COVID. I'm going to get that this weekend. So, Asmai from Morocco, welcome, welcome. Since you changed the time of the class, we've lost Lolly Lolly on road. Oh, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. It's very hard to find a time that everybody in the world can join at the same time. Elena, welcome. That's how it goes. Anyway, tell me about you. Tell me what you did this weekend. Did you learn any English this weekend? Did you study something this weekend? What? I have a new microphone stand. I'm trying to adjust it. What did you learn this weekend? Anything? Did you study anything this weekend? I asked a question. Did you? Where? Oh, I have a question. There you are. Why do the comments come in delayed? Elena's comment was delayed. I have a question. Listen to your podcast. What's the difference between in a mood and in a bad mood? I think you mean in a bad mood. The boss is in a mood, or the boss is in a bad mood. Those are the same. Those are the same. Around the late 1980s, early 1990s, I think it was, it became trendy to say, "Oh, he's in a mood today." Oh, you didn't say what kind of mood, right? But he's in a mood means he's in a bad mood. Look, Aries in hell. I already mentioned. Oh, abruptly. Gotcha. Thank you. Abruptly. Okay. Reportedly, most American people do not know any second language. That's correct. Here's the joke that I learned 25 years ago when I lived in Japan. A person who speaks 2 languages, right? How do we call a person who speaks 2 languages? If you have a good mood, you have to say, I have a good mood. Right. Mia, that's correct. The boss is in a mood. My husband was in a mood. My wife was in a mood, means in a bad mood. Right, so a person who speaks 2 languages, bilingual. How do you call a person who speaks 3 languages? 3 languages, what do you say? A person, hello Peter, a person who speaks 3 languages. Polyglot, perhaps trilingual. Trilingual is more specific, right? So a person who speaks 2 languages, bilingual. A person who speaks 3 languages, trilingual. How do you call a person who speaks 1 language? Marcella, you got it. An American. That's the joke. That's the joke. Right? The person who speaks 2 languages is bilingual. Person who speaks 3 languages, trilingual. A person who speaks 1 language is an American. That's a joke. And, all jokes have some basis in reality. And so, among all of my friends and family, I'm the only one who speaks a second language. It's not weird for Americans because let's think about it, right? America has the ocean on both sides. On the top is Canada, and people in Canada essentially speak English. And then in the south is Mexico. Now, and in Mexico they speak Spanish. Now, there are a lot of people in different parts of America who are bilingual Spanish because, and I'm not saying everybody doesn't learn a language, but I think for most Americans who don't live in a big city where they don't have access to international people, I think pretty much they just speak one language. That's how it goes. What's the difference between multilingual and polyglot? Multilingual is an adjective. Polyglot is a noun. I think that's the only difference. The meaning is the same. Poly means many. Multi means many too. So I don't think there's a difference in the meaning. It's just that he's a multilingual teacher. He's a polyglot. So that's all. Multilingual is the adjective form. Yeah, but I don't know anybody in my family. Let me just think about that quick. Nope. None of my family members speak a second language. So that's how it is. You know, I think in Europe, you know, Elena told me one time that she speaks a little French. Of course, because her country and France are very close. So it makes sense that people who live near other, you know, countries with other languages speak those other languages. And I think that's true in Europe. A lot of Europeans speak their language and the next country's language and English. That makes a lot of Europeans trilingual. My mom, no. So my grandparents came here from Italy in the early 1900s. And in those days, there was a lot of discrimination between the people who were already here and the European immigrants. Mostly in those days, it was Italian, German, and Irish. So those three groups of immigrants were the main three groups of immigrants that came here. A lot of immigrants came on the West Coast, came from China. But a lot of them did not, they settled there. They didn't settle here in the East Coast. In New York, right, the Statue of Liberty, we welcome all the immigrants. So that was my grandparents. And so, but my grandparents came here when they were babies or like little tiny children, that big. And so as they grew up, my grandfather told me that it was shameful or embarrassing or even dangerous for them to speak another language walking down the streets of New York City. Can you imagine that? If you come to New York now and you go to a popular tourist place like Times Square, you'll hear people speaking all different languages. But just 100 years ago or 110 years ago, if my grandfather, as a 5-year-old boy or 10-year-old boy, spoke Italian out on the streets while playing with his friends, the English-speaking residents of New York would probably beat him up. It just wasn't done. So they went to school. They assimilated into the culture. They tried to be more American and speak English. My great-grandparents relied on their help for things they needed to do in English. But by the time my parents were born, the third generation or the second generation, there was no English spoken in the house. So we lost the language. However, we still have the cooking, thank goodness. And I was very happy the other day. My sister sent me a text message. She said, "How do you make tomato sauce?" Because she never learned from my mother, I guess. So that's the story. Is Old German still spoken? I don't know. That I don't know. Brooklyn. My grandparents landed in Manhattan in the Lower East Side, where all the immigrants did, and then eventually they moved to a place called Queens, which is near, it's still part of the New York City area, but it's north of Brooklyn and east of Manhattan. And then eventually, my mother's family moved to Long Island, where I live, which is the suburbs of New York City. My father's family stayed in Queens. And that's an interesting story, too, because America has many waves of immigration, right? And so where my grandfather lived was a place called Flushing. And in those days, Flushing and Corona were two very large Italian-American neighborhoods. All of the immigrants kind of stayed together, right? So you've probably heard of Little Italy, that's in Manhattan, but Flushing in Queens was a predominantly Italian neighborhood. And now it's really, really interesting. Downtown Flushing, it looks like China. There are many Chinese immigrants. When you walk, you look at the stores, everything's written in Chinese. So that's like a Chinatown. And then you go 2 or 3 blocks east, everything looks like it's from Korea. So we call that like Koreatown. And then in a little bit more south, there are a lot of South Asian immigrants, like Indian or Pakistani. So it's very, very interesting how that it used to be 100 years ago, all Italian. Now there are other different immigrant groups. And that's how America is, at least in the New York area. So, there are different waves of immigrants that come from different countries. I've heard that in the early 1900s, when my grandparents came from the south part of Italy, tons of Italians came. Tens of Italians came. Now, not so much, I don't think. Not like then. So that's interesting. That's what makes that's what makes you, take 3, cut. That's what makes New York unique. Unique New York. Unique New York. That's hard to say. Multicultural. Yep, that's correct. We hold on to the food culture. That's for sure. That's for sure. I wish I was born in a bilingual house. That would be so awesome. But not. Anyway, that's the story about that. Okay, so does anybody have another English question before we get to the thing? Hashir, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. If you've just joined, my name is Michael. I'm an English teacher from New York, and I'm so happy to spend time with you on Mondays here. This is a new time. I know it's not convenient for everyone. I apologize for that, but it's the best I can do because they like to keep changing the clocks every 6 months. All right. I do, and I would like to tell you this. If you're interested in improving your vocabulary, then you really should sign up for my free vocabulary workshop. That's right, it's free. I know there's inflation everywhere. Money's tight. Here's a free way you can learn. In my free vocabulary workshop, all you have to do is go to myhappyenglish.com and sign up. You'll learn where and how to get new words. You will also learn the best way to study and learn those new words and how to own your vocabulary. A lot of the techniques that I discuss here are exactly the same techniques that I use when I study Japanese. I think that's going to help you. So check it out. All right. How's the connection? Still good? Still good. All right. Let's move ahead. Today, let's talk about cold weather vocabulary. Some of this vocabulary you might know. Some might be new. Hopefully, it's useful for everyone. First, we have to talk about people. When it's very cold, we talk about 2 people. And those 2 people are Jack Frost and Old Man Winter. Well, you might say, well, Michael, who's Jack Frost? And who's Old Man Winter? These are just fictional names, and these names represent cold weather. And sometimes when you watch, for example, you watch the TV news, the newscaster says, well, Jack Frost is outside today and the temperature is -5. Wow, looks like Old Man Winter came for a visit. Old Man Winter. I think Old Man Max just woke up. These are just names or nicknames that we have for cold weather. Interestingly, we don't have any nicknames for hot weather, just for cold weather. Jack Frost. Frost is, for example, when it's very cold outside, the window of your car or the window of your house may have a very thin layer of ice. That is frost. When you wake up early in the morning in the wintertime, you might see a very thin white coating on the grass or the surface of the ground. That's frost. And so Jack Frost is the fictional name for the character of Winter. And Frosty, right. There's a Christmas song which is based on an animation called Frosty the Snowman. Don't ask me why I picked a high key to sing that. Frosty the Snowman. Something like that. Came for a visit means just coming. Right. Old Man Winter is here. We have many ways to use this. Just like you would say, talk about a person. We would say, wow, it seems like Jack Frost is knocking at my door. Or Old Man Winter will be why can't I talk today? Old Man Winter will be visiting us next week. We say things like that. So, that's right. Came for a visit. Jack Frost is outside. Jack Frost was outside this morning. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. And last night, too. The only difference between this morning and last night's weather is last night it was really windy. And we're going to talk about cold wind. In your country, do you have any names that represent the weather? Do you say, I don't know. What do you say? Do you have any similar nicknames of words that you use to describe cold weather or hot weather or as a person? We call this this is called the personification of winter. I just typed that in the chat. Personification. Personification. The stress is on the second syllable. So wow, I can't talk today. The personification of winter means we make winter seem like a person. There's a Sith outside in Slovakia. Oh, interesting. Kitakaze kozo in Japanese. Oh, if there's a typhoon, right. That's true. We also give names to hurricanes. But giving a name to a storm is different than giving a name to the weather. Although maybe it's kind of similar. But yeah, we do that too. I forgot about that. Old Man Winter in Italy. Oh, okay. Il generale inverno. Inverno. Wasn't that Dante's Inferno? Inferno. You need a cup of Joe. I need more cups of Joe, that's for sure. The general winter from Napoleonic War in Russia. Okay, the general winter. And for hot weather, it's bucket. Interesting. That's interesting. Bucket. Inverno is winter. Inferno is hell. Ah, okay. Thank you. See, it's easy to make mistakes. Your last mistake is your best teacher, by the way. Keep that in mind. Kitakaze kozo. So Mie, in Taiwan, do you give the typhoon a name or a number? Because I know in Japan they give the typhoon a number. In America, the hurricanes are names. And for a long time, it was only a female name, a woman's name. Oh, a name, okay. And now we use both because we want to be inclusive. A name in English, really? So what do you say, like, Typhoon Bob is coming? It's Typhoon Michael. We say Ijkscloud in Dutch. It means cold as ice. Ah, okay. Yeah, we have a lot of... we're gonna look at all these phrases. Yes, she says. Wow. Interesting. I don't speak Taiwanese, but I like to hear how somebody says that. Blah, 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 blah. Bob. Blah, 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 blah. So interesting. All right, so those are the people of winter. Sometimes we say dog's cold. That's interesting, person from the east part of Russia, because in English, in the summertime when it's very hot and humid, we say, these are the dog days of summer. The dog days of summer are the hottest and most humid days of the summer. Ichigo miruku. Drying out teas. Kogarashi. I'm not sure what that means. Drying out teas. What does that mean? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Let's talk about the wind. And this is something that happens here in America. I don't know if it happens in your country. Maybe it does. We have something called the wind chill factor, or the wind chill for short. And the wind chill, or the wind chill factor, is how the temperature feels because of the wind. And I'm not a scientist, but it's something like temperature times wind equals the wind chill factor. I don't know. But for example, here's an example. The temperature is 32 degrees, but the wind chill factor is 20. So let me explain what that means in your language. 32 degrees is 0. 20 is -7. So when the temperature is 0 degrees, but it's very windy, it feels like 20, and that's the wind chill factor. It feels like 7. In Spain, we say a dog weather when it's so hot or cold. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so it's both. That's interesting. We learn from each other. Keep that in mind. I feel like I'm far away. Look, I'm going to make me bigger. Beep, beep, beep. Hello. I'm bigger now. Kind of. It is related to the wind gust. It has to do with the speed. Il ragazzo del vento del nord. The north wind's boy. Oh, okay, interesting. It's an emotional temperature. What's the temperature today in the east end of Russia? I'm very curious. So that's the wind chill. Do you talk about that in your country as well? I don't know if you're in this part of the east end of Russia, but I always keep this in my phone. Oymyakon is the northeast part of Russia. It's also the coldest city where people live in the world. It's not the coldest place in the world, but it's the coldest city where people live. And the temperature is minus 23. And that's, I think I'm in Fahrenheit. I'm in Fahrenheit, sorry. Let me go to Celsius. The temperature is minus 31 Celsius. There. Yep. And look at that. Saturday, the low temperature is minus 36. So anytime I feel cold here in New York, I look and I go, well, let's see what the temperature is there. I can't imagine what the wind chill must be like. All right, that's the wind chill. That's the wind chill. Let's go back. Let's talk about wind. Oh, the emotional temperature is the wind chill. Oh, that's interesting, Marcel. Thanks for sharing that. The wind on a cold day is a biting wind. Let's think of the image there. It's biting. Oh, the wind is biting my face. It's a biting wind. Cold wind. Ki-rashi. I can't read that. Ki-rashi. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry. I can't read that. Cold wintry wind. Bone chilling. We'll get to there. Yes. So when it's very windy on a cold day, the wind is painful, right? If you're out, kogarashi. Kogarashi. I've never heard that before. Thank you, teacher. So the wind on a cold day is a biting wind. It's very painful. There's a biting wind during a blizzard. The wind was really biting today. Actually, there was a biting wind last night. And keep in mind, a lot of times in weather we say there is or there are, right? There is a biting wind today. There's a biting wind during the blizzard. Ichigo Miruku, San said. Oh, okay. Drying out trees. Interesting. Oh, so you mean the trees are drying out? That's interesting. That's interesting. Sometimes it takes me a while. Oh, drying out trees, a cold wintry wind. That's interesting. Okay. We use dogs only for winter. That's interesting too. A biting wind is a nippy wind. I think I have nippy coming soon. Biting wind, nippy. Yep, it's coming up. We should also talk about freezing, because this is a kind of a point or a word. Ooh, see, I moved myself, and now I'm blocking everything. Okay. Hold on. Goodbye. Okay. Cold, wintry wind. Yeah, that makes sense. A biting wind. The word freezing, if you look in the dictionary, the word freezing means 0 degrees Celsius, right? The freezing point. So that's the dictionary definition of freezing. But in conversational English, we use the word freezing to talk about how we feel, right? If the temperature is 4 degrees, but it's very windy, and I go outside, I'm saying, oh, it's freezing outside, because it makes me feel cold, right? That's how we use the word freezing. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's 0 degrees. It could be -10. It's freezing. Well, that's below freezing, Michael. Right, but that's how we use that vocabulary. That's freezing. It's freezing outside today. Let's stay home. It's freezing outside. Let's stay home today. Good idea. I was freezing in the office because of the air conditioner. Imagine that. It's the middle of August or the middle of July, and you're in your office and you say, oh my God, I'm freezing. I feel very cold. Obviously, the temperature is not 0, but we say that. Again, and I've mentioned this before, in English, and especially in American English, we like to use exaggeration to make our language more colorful. So when, good morning, Max. So when the train is very crowded, hang on one second. Why? When the train is very crowded, we say something like, oh my God, there were 1 million people on the train this morning. Or on a very hot summer day, we say, oh my God, it's 1,000 degrees outside. So we use exaggeration like this to make the language more colorful. How was that restaurant? Oh my God, it cost $1 million for a steak. So we use that kind of exaggeration. So it's the same thing here when we say, oh, it's freezing outside today. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually freezing. Today's -18. Ay, ay, ay. Americans always have 0 degrees AC in August. Oh, it's horrible. It's really, really horrible. I don't understand. I don't understand. So before the pandemic, I had an office, not with a view like this, but I had an office in the city, and oh my God, it was so cold. It was so cold in the summertime. Freezing cold. Freezing cold. So I always had a sweater or a down vest that I would wear that in my office in the summer. And then the air vent, I covered like 90% of the air vent with duct tape. I don't like cold air blowing on my head. But Americans do. The Americans like freezing cold air conditioner. That's not me. Okay, freezing. So that's freezing. It's freezing. All right. Other vocabulary to talk about very, very cold. We say it's bitter cold or it's bitterly cold. Did you hear that? Bitter, bitter cold, bitter. Bitter butter, better, bottle, water. It's the reduced T sound. We don't say, it's bitter cold. Bitter cold. We don't say bitter cold. We say bitter cold. Or bitterly cold. We use both. We use the adjective and the adverb. That means it's extremely cold. It's bitter cold in Oymyakon in the winter. It was bitterly cold when I walked my dog this morning. Not exactly. But I will say that it was bitterly cold when I walked the dog last night because there was a biting wind. That's for sure. Ugh. By the way, if you've just met me, if we've just met, nice to meet you. And if you don't know, I hate the winter. Now, for me, the word hate is a very strong word. I don't use hate very often because for me, it's a very, very strong word. Like, I hate him. Oh, I wouldn't say that. But I hate the winter. I hate the winter, hate the winter, hate the winter. So just wanted to say that. Do you walk the dog one at a time? Yes. I have to walk the dogs one at a time because Rosie thinks that going for a walk together with Max is playtime. And she often fights him or attacks him, or it doesn't work. So I have to walk him one at a time. Bitter is gin tonic. You know, I've had, we say gin and tonic. I've had a gin and tonic a couple of times. That's a good summertime drink. Very refreshing and light. But I'm not a fan of gin, to be honest. I'm more of a Scotch person if we talk about liquor. Not my thing either. Yeah, I can't deal with it. Can't deal with it. Can't deal with it. All right, another way to talk about very cold weather is frigid. Refrigerator, frigid. You see how those words are related? Frigid means very, very cold. It was frigid in Jack's old car because the heater was broken. Come on, Jack. Fix your car. It's too frigid for the dogs to play outside. Subasmita, hello, welcome. Hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm not crazy about winter either. And you live in a place, Tammy, where winter is pretty severe. So that's frigid. That's frigid. It's very frigid. It was frigid last night. The wind is frigid. We use that. And that's where the fridge is where refrigerator comes from. Although I'm not sure why we say refrigerator, because it means again, like repeat. Ouch. Frigid we use for women who are not interested in. We use the word frigid. Frigid, Marcella, it also has that meaning in English. But you can understand from the context, she's frigid, or it's frigid outside. So we understand what the difference is. But when a person, I think when we describe a person who's not very emotional, we say, oh, that person's very cold. So I can see where that usage of the word is. That's why Canadians drink a lot of coffee all the time. Aha. Maybe that's why New Yorkers drink a lot of coffee too. Or just me. But one thing that I do like about the winter is I tend to drink a lot more tea. So I'll have my 2 cups or 3 cups of coffee in the morning, and then after that it's tea. And I got myself one of those electric kettles. You plug it in and it boils the water, and you push the button and the hot water comes out. And so I can have a cup of tea anytime. Hot pot dinner. That's good. When it's frigid outside. And then I think Tammy or somebody mentioned this before. Nippy. Nippy. Very casual word. It means cold weather. Bundle up. It's nippy outside. It's so nippy out there. Let's have some soup to warm up. Nippy. Nippy means cold. And it's more of a kind of a cute conversational word. A lot of English words that end in Y are kind of cute sounding words. Tea with rum. That's my kind of girl. I've had coffee with rum, but I've never had tea with rum. That's interesting. When I was a kid, when I was a college student, my professor, my guitar teacher, always drank. He had a thermos of coffee, a container of coffee, and he had a shot of vodka in there. He said, that's how you warm up. And I said, that's how you become an alcoholic. But that was his thing. Thank you. I'm glad that you like my explanation there. Yeah, nippy. That's a cute word to do that. So bundle up. When you tie something with a rope, right? Like you put the newspapers out for recycling, you tie them with a rope, you bundle them. So bundle means to make sure all of your zippers and all of your buttons all the way up, and you raise your turtleneck and you put on your hat, you bundle up. So you're putting yourself in a bundle of clothing. That's what bundle up means. Coffee with a piece of chocolate. I haven't had breakfast yet, so I can't have chocolate with my coffee. No chocolate in the morning. That's my policy. You dress in layers, right? So you have the t-shirt, the heat tech, the t-shirt, and then the sweater. That's a common beverage for here during the winter, tea and rum. That's interesting. So Marcella, do you have tea with milk and rum or just tea with rum? Piece of toast. Actually, I've got a corn muffin waiting for me. Oh, just tea. Okay. Good to know. Nabal say, bundle up. All right, now we learned. All right. I like to walk during a blizzard. Wow, you do like the cold. A cold snap. A cold snap. Snap. Snap your fingers. A cold snap is a short period of time when the temperature becomes and remains cold. So, let's say, for example, that the temperature is 2 degrees, 3 degrees, or 2 degrees, 3 degrees, and then suddenly it's -5, and it stays -5, -6, -5, -6 for like 3 or 4 days, and then back to 2 or 3 degrees. That's a cold snap. So it's a short period of very, very cold weather. That's a cold snap. A cold front is the movement of the weather. So it's a little bit different. Cold front talks about how the weather moves. You know, there's literally a line of cold moving in or something like that. I'm not a scientist, but that's what a cold front is. So a cold snap is a short period of time when the temperature becomes and remains very cold. And I should tell you also, I'm going to type that. The opposite of a cold snap is a heat wave. So in the summertime, if the temperature is usually like 30 degrees and then suddenly it's 38 degrees for 4 or 5 days, that is, excuse me, that's a heat wave. A cold spell, yep, we use that too. We're having a cold spell. There's tea plus rum, red wine and orange and lemon and cinnamon hot drink. Punk. Wait, tea, rum, red wine, orange, lemon, and cinnamon. That sounds interesting. Another lesson is in transition word and phrases. What is on? Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean there. Nice idea. When will you teach us these nice little words like itsy bitsy, okie dokie? Okay, that's a good idea. Let me just screenshot that. That's a good idea. Okay, thank you. Thanks for that, Fab. Appreciate it. So a cold snap. We had a cold snap last week. I can't believe there was a cold snap the week I visited Boston. Boston is a really cold city in the winter. Really cold. One reason is because it's near the sea, and so when the wind comes off the ocean, it's really cold, really cold. The wind chill is cold, and the temperature is cold. How are we doing on time? All right, I think we're going to make it today. All right, so damp. This is a good word to know. When there's moisture in the air and it's cold. So when the weather is damp, it means there is moisture in the air and it's cold. Now, in the summertime, when there is moisture in the air and it's hot, how do we call that? How do we say in the summer, oh, today it's very, it's hot and there's moisture in the air. How do we call that? Humid, right. So when it's humid, it means there's moisture in the air and it's very hot. In the wintertime, it's damp. And damp means there's moisture in the air, but it's cold. The wine cellar is damp. Quite often, a cellar is damp. It was very cold and damp after the rainstorm. Actually, we had a heavy rain the other day, but that was from the hurricane, and that was warm. The air was warm, so it was humid after that. But, when it rains in the wintertime, it's usually very damp. And the word damp is like humid. It includes the idea that it's uncomfortable weather. So that's the idea there. Hello, I'm going to move. I like how I can do that. Look, I can move me all around. Ooh, I'm over here now. No, I'm over here. I'm over here. Technology is fun. So that's what damp is. So it has the idea that there's moisture in the air and it's cold and it's uncomfortable. All right. 2 more, I think. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, 1 more. All right. There we go. Drafty. Drafty. If you live in an old house, it could be drafty. Drafty means that there's, like, if you talk about your window or the door or even the wall, that cold air blows through. These days in the modern world, windows are not usually drafty. But in the old days, or if you live in an old house, if you put your hand to the window? If you put your hand to the window in an old window, you can feel the wind coming through the glass. And we say it's drafty. The windows in Grandma's kitchen are so drafty. They keep a towel under the door because it's drafty. Sometimes the wind comes under the door. And so that's what drafty is. When I lived in Japan, my apartment was built in the 1950s, and the walls were extremely thin, as were the windows, like maybe as thick as my wallet. And it was very drafty, very, very drafty. But even though it was drafty, I loved my apartment. Memories. All right, so let's have a quick review, shall we? Drafty means the cold air blows through your windows or doors. Damp, the wine cellar is damp. It's cold and full of moisture. A cold snap, a short period of time when the temperature remains cold. Nippy, it's nippy outside. Very cold weather. It's frigid, also very cold weather. It's bitterly cold or bitter cold, also means cold weather. It's freezing outside, conversational way to say it's very cold. It's a biting wind, okay, very painful wind. The wind chill factor, how the temperature feels because of the wind. And then we had our friends Old Man Winter and Jack Frost, the personification of winter. All right, that's it for winter cold weather vocabulary. Hey, listen, be sure to go to myhappyenglish.com/YouTube where you can download this document here, and then you can also sign up for my free vocabulary workshop. You'll learn where and how to get new words, the best way to study and learn new words, and how to own your new vocabulary. And that, my friends, is all the time we have for today. The insulation is not good. I can imagine that. Yeah, for sure. I don't like drafty either. Causes disease. Okay. All right. That is it for today. Hey, thanks for all your lovely comments. Thank you for spending an hour with me this morning or so. And listen, stay warm. Stay warm. Keep in mind also, I'll see you next week at the same time. Remember, learning another language is not always easy, but it's not impossible. And I'm here to help you on your journey. Thank you so much for joining me today on YouTube. Catch you later.